not necessarily going to happen, or at least it's not going to happen imminently. I think, look, there are a couple of things that are going on. One is that Mamdani came the way you're supposed to come
Mamdani.
with strength, and you come with some kind of notoriety, with some popularity. So he didn't just win the election, he won in a way that nobody's ever seen before. He went from 1% in the polls to winning the Democratic primary in about 6 months. He's got a certain amount of celebrity. President Trump noted that there were more press there, international press included, than for some heads of state. That gets the attention of somebody like a Donald Trump. And I guess finally, look, it is part of the Trump story. The Trump family fortune came from working with mayors and local officials in New York. And I think it's just kind of hardwired into him that being friendly with the mayor of New York can be a very lucrative proposition.
He said he used to want that job.
You saw Donald Trump essentially undermining the MAGA media ecosystem in real time. For the past few months, they've called Zohran Mamdani a jihadist, communist, a threat to America who's incompatible with the governing style of America. You think he's incompatible with the governing style of America?
His values are fundamental. Trump is wrong on this case.
You think Trump is wrong on this case?
Zohran Mamdani's principles are fundamentally hostile to the founding principles. His idea that we should confiscate property. John Locke, the founders, they were very clear that property rights.
Has he ever talked to Maryland? He's never said anything about confiscation.
He said he wants to take
moderated two
condos.
debates that have interviewed him half a dozen times.
Then you would know that he said that.
There's no confiscation.
Then you would know that he said that he said
Can I just say,
luxury condos should be taken if they're not in use.
Yeah.
example, the MAGA media ecosystem has made Zohran
The maggot media.
jihadist. And listen, some of his ideas.
The legislation he supports in the council will force property owners before they can sell it on the public market
It's called
to
right of
sell it.
first
Why didn't Trump confront him about that? Why didn't Trump confront him about it? Why was Trump?
He said it was his honor.
Maybe he did.
But you know what Trump said? Trump said that we both agree on increasing the supply of housing, and that's going to.
I'll tell you why it hasn't.
Tonight, Donald Trump is insisting that your Thanksgiving this year will be cheaper than last year.
As you know, I've been saying to a lot of people, Walmart said that Thanksgiving this year is exactly 25% less than last year. So that's good for New York, good for everybody.
And thanks to President Trump's Drill Baby Drill agenda, the national average price of a gallon of gas on Thanksgiving Day is projected to be at the cheapest price since the COVID pandemic in 2021.
Let's start with that last point. While it is true that gas has been cheaper this year, that's no longer the case. AAA says the average gallon is now more expensive than, at this point, last year under Biden. Second point, Walmart's Thanksgiving basket this year is cheaper because it contains less food. A new analysis also finds that overall dinner is 10% higher this year. But according to one MAGA ally, forget what you hear.
There are issues on some of these prices, although I think affordability is greatly overrated.
Right.
Just a quick reminder, that wasn't just a talking head on TV. Larry Kudlow was Trump's economic advisor during the first administration. And it's probably a bad sign that people MAGA aligned or even in the administration are basically saying, don't worry about it. You know, it's all in your head.
I was going to ask you the context of that because he just said overrated. So you're saying that they believe I didn't get the whole full of it. It was just like, okay, it's just overrated. We don't need to talk about it now. I said this before in your show when we were talking about SNAP benefits when the government was shut down. I think that, and that's what Trump is experiencing and this administration is experiencing now. You can't convince people that they're not getting enough food. You can't convince people they don't have food for their children. You can't convince people that they don't have enough money to actually pay for gas. All of those things are real moments that you feel. So no matter whatever you're trying to sell me, and if you're trying to tell me that it's just overrated, American people will not believe that. We just won't do that.
It's a lot less abstract than some of the other Democratic talking points we've had. Like, so when we talk about January 6th or Trump upending the rule of law or not caring about norms, that's pretty abstract in people's day-to-day lives. But the economy affects them every single day, and Trump is hardcore gaslighting about how the economy is doing. Like, he says that inflation is, he essentially said he killed inflation at one point. There was no inflation.
But inflation was higher under President Biden.
What was inflation?
Core inflation was 3.2 in December and is 3.0 now. CPI went up 28%. Be quiet, I'm talking, buddy. CPI went up 21%. That means that under Joe Biden, every American lost 20 cents on every dollar. We're at the Food Network. We're talking about beef. I know that's been a big issue, right? The meat industry, the Meat Institute, represents 95% of meat packers, poultry packers, right? They sent a letter to the Trump administration recently basically saying, here's how you can save the meat industry. Nothing about tariffs. It was all about stupid state and federal regulations.
The tariffs are an issue. They're not the whole story, but they are a big part of the story.
The U.S. cattle herd is lower than it's ever been.
But it's not just
because of regulation.
There are many other elements.
It's not going to just double overnight.
When you walk through the grocery store, bread is higher, beef is higher,
eggs
everything
are lower,
is higher.
Coffee's higher.
Well,
You can pick and choose.
How much have eggs gone down over the past 12 months? How much have a dozen of eggs gone down?
Core inflation
It's 4
is
cents.
down.
4
Is
cents
core
over the past
inflation
12
up
months.
or is core inflation down? Core inflation
Is unemployment up or down?
Period.
Is unemployment
End of
up or
story.
down?
Core inflation is down.
No. Wait.
Core inflation is down.
Inflation
Core inflation.
is
I'm saying core inflation.
okay, but
Cherry picking
inflation
Core
is at what 3.2% now. That is a
It's
trend.
3% now. It used to be 3.1.
But Joe, the trend since Trump came into office is that it has been ticking up, not ticking down.
Liberation Day tariffs only went into effect on August 7th due to Trump's 90-day delays, so we haven't seen the bulk of the effects, but I've seen the Republicans in the administration and on this panel cherry-pick certain economic data that's incongruent with the way the average American feels. A dozen eggs is down 4 cents last year. That doesn't outweigh unemployment being up, unemployment for young Americans my age being up, unemployment for black Americans is spiking. That's an early indicator of a weakening job market. People are
Black
struggling.
American women,
and you can't,
especially.
yeah, you can't just gaslight about this. It's
All right, now it's time for our news nightcap. Don't go anywhere just yet, though, because Wicked for Good is now in theaters. And that had us wondering, what movie or TV show prequel do you want to see? Adam?
I really enjoy the characters that both Matt Damon and Robin Williams play in Good Will Hunting, so I'd like to see what they were doing before the sequence of events in that movie.
All right, Carrie.
Sex and the City, of course, that's on brand for me. I really want to know why all of these women, in some form or fashion, were stunted in their growth in their relationships. I want to know about Carrie's parents. I want to know why Samantha behaves the way she does. Did something happen? These are very important issues.
What are they talking about?
But I need full details.
All
I'm
right.
sure Joe feels the same way. He was going to say.
Yeah.
I love the Sex and the City show.
Oh, okay, see, I do.
Well, every episode I have I still have it on Blu-ray.
I know.
My goodness, the server is full. Over 10 million players are staying up to play. This is the Zero top-up server that MU launched this year. After playing for 2 days, how should I put it? I feel free, I don't need to worry about spending money, and, well, it is just awesome. You get points for beating mobs, so there's no need to sign up for any VIP pass. If you don't feel like spending money, just invest a little more time. And the awesome part is, the drop rate is crazy high, and your attack speed gets so fast.
Oh shit.
Right from the start, your attack speed is maxed out, your skills have no cooldown, everything happens in a flash. Don't miss out on this, bro.
Is that it?
Create any character you want in seconds.
This used to require huge
Oh. Was it? This.
Of distributing the vaccine.
I do not think the First of all, you're asking for like a counterfactual that I can never prove this, but no, I don't think the Democrats would have suddenly become anti-vax the same way the Republicans don't believe in fucking climate change. I don't think the Democrats will flip on those types of positions that hardcore like Republicans seem to sometimes.
Well, they did flip really hardcore on it because as soon as they took office, they started pushing the vaccine and distributing it just like they're supposed to.
I think it was after the trials.
They wouldn't get it.
It was after the FDA trial.
Okay.
CDC trial. Sorry.
Stop.
Yeah.
Victory is yours.
You can't, like, we're talking over each other, okay? So we're gonna have Destiny talk, then we're gonna have Cam respond, okay? Destiny.
Okay. Well, sure. The trust in the vaccines came once the trials were done and the CDC was approving them, or emergency use authorization approving them, and they were going through. And even in the prior comments we looked at, we can go look at the comments that I think Biden and Kamala Harris made comments before. It was something along the lines of like, we'll trust the process. I'm not going to trust anything Trump says, but we'll see what like the process is or whatever. And we follow the process, and the process, has resolved itself. We have vaccines.
No, the rhetoric from these people was literally, I'm not getting it if it comes out under the Trump administration. We don't trust the federal government right now. Yes, it was.
You're wrong.
Yes, it was. Andrew,
You're wrong. She didn't say anything about the federal government.
I don't trust the federal government, and I will not recommend to New Yorkers that they get the vaccine. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden said, I trust scientists, I trust vaccines, but I don't trust Donald Trump, and neither can the American people right now.
Nobody should trust him.
If you don't think that's an illusion to people not to trust the Trump vaccine, then you're insane. And I don't think I think you're just making a non-argument right now.
She said, I will say that I would not trust Donald Trump.
If he tells me to get it, I'm not
source.
getting it. If he tells me to
I
get it,
wouldn't trust that guy with anything. If he told me I'm standing in front of you, I'd be like, dude, I don't even believe you right now.
Finish that quote.
You don't love the truth.
Finish that quote. I will say.
Wait. Okay. So, 1 second. Let's stop for a second. Destiny, you wanted him to finish.
Yeah, finish the quote. I will say that I would not trust Donald Trump, and it would have to be a credible source of information that talks about the efficacy and the reliability of whatever he's talking about, like the CDC or the FDA.
Who said that? And who said that?
Kamala Harris.
Okay, Kamala Harris also said, if Donald Trump tells me to get it, I'm not getting it. And the overall rhetoric was literally, I don't trust the federal government. I'm not getting the vaccine under the Trump
You're drawing that conclusion. You're drawing that conclusion, Cam. She didn't say that.
Okay.
She didn't say any of that.
Okay, I don't trust the federal government doesn't include the CDC now. Apparently the CDC is not a
She didn't say I
bureaucracy
don't
within
trust the federal government. She didn't say anything about that.
I literally said when I started this point that I was talking about Democrats, not just specifically Biden, not specifically just Kamala Harris, Democrats in general.
Oh, you're moving them goalposts. They got some wheels on them. They're out in the parking lot at this point.
I premised my argument. Roll it back. This is how I premised my argument, and I did it very carefully. Like, I'm sure about that? I am absolutely sure. Roll them back.
Okay.
Man, we could have President Mike Pence. Okay, we're gonna go to shift.
Okay, so. Whew, that was a great game of football. You're wrong about the Democrats and the left and vaccines. You're just wrong. And I'm gonna explain it to you because I spent 32 hours of my life sitting here looking through footage and quotes and everything, even though it was already said. The general messaging was that so much crap was coming out of Trump's mouth, and there were so many different people between Fauci and Birx and I still can't believe we let Stella Emanuel. I'm never letting Republicans get away with that. Y'all really had Demon Sperm Lady up there talking about some bullshit. Anyway, like, yo, the idea was that if an administration that could push all these random ass cures, just like snake oil, would then want to push out a vaccine, I don't trust it. I don't have faith in you because you literally went out of your way to say, a chloroquine
chloroquine.
That bullshit.
Oh shit.
Oh my god. You're just wrong.
You're just wrong.
Yeah, you're
He's
just
wrong.
It's not an argument.
Okay, so I mean, when I say this, so okay, I'll tell you what. So you don't know me. I'm gonna say this real quick. When I tell somebody that they're wrong, it's not because like I disagree with you. It's like whatever the fuck you're talking about is in the realm of like. You're over there, bro. Like that wasn't. You say Democrats. You say the left, and I'm really looking out. Like I talk to Democrats. I talk to the left. I'm in the cities. I'm interviewing people. None of these people are saying that.
I do the same thing. Look, bro,
so
you're just.
Then how are you talking about this in a way that makes any viable sense? The Democrats and the left were doing this. Like, no. Anyway, on to my next point. Onto it because I already got a response. Inflation is at the highest level it's ever been at. That is correct. But if you look at the inflation rates for the last 10 years, not only have we bumped this ceiling before, but we've done it by spending on tax cuts and military and shit, no infrastructure. Literally nothing for the American people. It was a cycle through Wall Street.
He's yelling.
From 2013 to 2018. We've had this inflation before. We will recover. The last thing I'm gonna say is, damn, Destiny, that speech really hit, yo. Like, I'm on the Biden train. I really didn't put this in perspective, but like Obama 2008 financial crisis, like now Joe Biden financial crisis as we're looking at Trump throwing everything and everybody's bailing out of defense stocks and y'all probably don't know about that, sorry, PCE prices. I didn't realize how much Biden has been able to accomplish, even though nobody wants him to accomplish anything. We look at his accomplishments as they've got to be big, and I get that now. By listening to this, listening to everybody talk, I get that. We're supposed to look at Biden as like universal healthcare, like we're supposed to like the big things. These small little steps may not feel like a lot to us, but they are to a lot of people, and those are the people that matter.
Infrastructure is a communist buzzword, and Trump had the economy going until the communist shutdowns by the local governments, which were not necessary. It was
This is
playing
fucking
Obama,
retard.
not pretending to protect the people from the virus. It was fake.
Okay, so why did Trump
Wait,
have a
what
$2
part was
trillion
fake?
trudget? Why did Trump have a $2 trillion infrastructure proposal then that he tried to get up until even May of 2020? If it's just some communist buzzword nonsense.
Because it's a reality that we're stuck with.
Wait,
So
hold
is
on,
Trump
wait.
a
Why
communist?
is there? I'm just.
It's a reality that we're stuck with.
Wait, stop. One at a time. I would like IRS question to, be able to be answered if possible. I would like to hear Hank respond. We don't want to talk over him.
Sure. I'd like to hear it too.
It's a reality that we're stuck with. They've set the system up so that people are dependent on the feds to do all of this stuff. But so much of this infrastructure stuff is not spent on like roads and bridges, as we all know. It's spent on like liberal values. It's a whole lot of fakeness.
But Trump had $800 billion even more that he wanted to spend money on.
Even
Is
more,
that
but
all?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, even worse liberal stuff that Trump wanted?
I doubt it, because Trump was
You
not
doubt
so
it?
subversive.
Oh.
He was not so
So what was
subversive.
Trump's just patriot projects or what?
Definitely. Trump was for the country.
Okay.
Biden is for subverting the country. He's not an honest person. Trump was hated because he's told the truth. Biden is loved because he's a liar.
Isn't infrastructure a good opportunity to like make friends?
Maybe
not
because he
enemies?
told the
This is
truth.
something we all kind of come together on. Like, I don't understand how you can not be in favor of infrastructure. Did you see, like, is there a part of the bill? Was there some amount of like finance like allocated? You're like, we shouldn't spend money on that, or this just seems like such a no-brainer thing that everybody should be in favor of.
Well, it's because these are dishonest people.
Wait, the people that are saying we need our bridges and roads to function well, or what part of the people?
But that's not. Infrastructure
Who do we
is not
trust,
just
then?
bridges and roads. When you look into the nitty-gritty of what they're doing, it's not just bridges and roads. You know that.
Yeah, I
Who
mean,
do
you
you
can
trust
you can
in the
break
government?
apart the budgets, and you can see like.
One second.
Sorry, go ahead.
One at a time. It's IRI and Destiny. So we're gonna have Destiny talk to Hank first, then we'll have IRI, and then we're gonna go to Merrick.
Go Ira, you can go first.
I just want to know, hey, can you give me like 2 names of people in government that you trust? Who should we trust?
They've been ousted from government. Donald Trump and Steve King, Congressman Steve King of Iowa.
The Iowa guy.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Got it.
Honorable man.
That was the guy that said.
Honorable.
That was the guy that talked about what was it, Mexican babies or something? What?
Yeah, the Republicans kicked him off his committees.
Yeah, see, the Republicans are not representative of the American people. They're traitors to the American people, by and large.
It's you versus the world, huh?
Pretty much.
You got it all figured out, huh, Hank?
Pretty much.
Okay, Destiny.
From the moment
Yeah,
they are
you said earlier the coronavirus
used.
was fake. What part of it was fake? Like,
I didn't say the coronavirus was fake. I said that the phoniness over the shutdowns. I don't believe that the shutdowns were necessary, and a lot of quote-unquote experts agree with me that these shutdowns were not necessary.
Hey.
okay, wait. Why is it that when you're quoting the experts to help you, why would you say quote unquote? You're undermining your own.
because I put common sense before experts.
You understand the common? Or sorry, am I interrupting?
Hey, Hank. Can I ask you a question?
Hey.
You just mentioned it. You don't believe that the shutdowns did anything to really help, or you're saying that there are experts who are in a large field who believe that, the shutdowns didn't help. Can you please explain to me what shutdowns we had in this country?
We had a lot of people, businesses forced to close around.
No, that's not a shutdown.
Yes, it is. It's a shutdown. The heck?
No, it's not.
Yes,
if
it is.
those businesses are allowed to operate in any other way, whether it be online or not, it's still not a shutdown.
It is a shutdown.
Oh God, that's such a horrible point. Oh my God, why would you say that?
The
what?
shutdowns did a lot of harm. It's undeniable.
You're talking about Trump.
Hank is right on this one.
You're talking about Trump's 14 days to stop the spread, right?
Right. 14 days.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that either.
Okay.
15 days. 15 days to stop the spread.
Trump did a lot of bad things, it sounds like, according to you.
Yeah, he had the whole government against him, and he had a lot of bad advice, and whatever. But he had the best interests of America at heart.
I gotta ask you, okay? Because Trump came in.
It has to be Merrick. Merrick's been waiting for a while, okay? Right.
Okay, Trump came in as a business deal making guy. That was his whole point, okay? Now, you might think that the Republicans have a different agenda than him or whatever, but he was a Republican president. The Republican lawmakers largely backed him, at least publicly. If he can't get a government to work for him when he owns every single corner of that government, what the fuck kind of worthless fuck businessman is he? How is he supposed to do anything?
Well, you well know that his own executive branch had a lot of people in it who were working against him. He can't just fire all the.
Actually, yeah, in the executive branch, he absolutely can, and he did. He did it with the FBI. He did it with the DOJ.
Bureaucrats.
I don't think
not
that's true, man.
Bureaucrats. You cannot. The president cannot unilaterally fire career bureaucrats.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Am I okay? I trust you. Am I incorrect? For the head of the FDA, the head of the CDC, the head of the FBI, aren't these all political appointees that are done at the will, the behest of the executive branch of the president himself? Can he not remove or appoint new people?
Head, yeah.
So you can appoint the head, that's one person, and then you've got like 200,000 people beneath him that actually do everything, that were literally fighting tooth and nail and slow rolling everything. This is well known.
If you're the CEO of a business, do you think you can use that excuse when you're leading your company? I thought Trump was all about taking responsibility, and the buck stops here. Even from my small business, if one of my employees were to do something that represents me in a bad light, I can't just run around and be like, oh, I didn't mean for that to happen, right? You have to take responsibility for what happens. So why is Trump allowed to pass the buck here when he marketed himself as a businessman?
Trump's not passing the buck. I'm passing the buck.
I actually blame August all the time. Don't tell him that.
Don't really make these excuses.
No, but this is something that even leftists should be very, very concerned about, because what we found out during the Trump administration is that when the duly elected president, as a representative of the American people, wants to get something done and says to do something, and then the administrative state, the career bureaucrats, the people that are actually manning all of these agencies, when they stop them, that's undemocratic. You were so concerned about undemocratic stuff. Well, how about unelected bureaucrats slow rolling and stopping and rejecting and not implementing what the president or his political appointees say to do? That is undemocratic.
Why do you think the Democratic
Biden? Sorry, thank you for explaining why you think Biden can't get anything done. Thank you for explaining
why do you think the Democratic means? Why do you think Democratic only means elected, like directly? That's not how our system works. Why do you keep saying that? Democratic doesn't mean that we personally vote on every single policy, on every single administrator, on every single bureaucrat. That's not how our system is set up. I don't think any Democratic, even Switzerland doesn't run that way.
Support the president.
Okay, wait. Okay, so Merrick still hasn't spoken, and if I don't let Merrick speak, then I'm gonna get canceled. So Merrick.
Just shut up, Dylan. I guess you said that infrastructure is a communist buzzword, so I guess this is kind of a
now we're
two-parter.
on a total different.
Do you think that social spending of any kind is communist, and can you define communism?
Communism is lies to control the people through hatred and spoiling them.
True.
And social spending
is that
generally.
What Karl Marx wrote?
Don't interrupt. Don't interrupt. And generally, a lot of the social spending is not necessary, and it's harmful.
No, but is it communist? For any social spending, is that communist? Okay.
Generally.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you. You're welcome.
So I'm curious, do you guys believe that it's just a total waste of time to vote in any election? Is it just because it sounds like you always have an excuse for when it's funny because the only other people I hear cry about it this much are progressives. No offense to progressives, but like it sounds like you guys always have an excuse for why you can't get anything done. Like there's either going to be a bureaucrat standing in your way, there's going to be some court standing in your way. Like Donald Trump was the president. You had both halves of Congress.
He got a lot done.
And he got a lot done? They couldn't even repeal the fucking ACA, which was like their main hatred point of Obama for like 7 fucking years.
Actually, they did repeal the worst part about it, which was the individual mandate. That's
the big call was, you can cope all you want, but the big call was repeal and replace. And all of us heard that gasp in the room when McCain said no for shooting down the fucking repeal and replace on that. You can pretend like that was a victory.
So there's your answer.
Okay? So no, and also for major legislative accomplishments, the only thing we really got under Trump were the tax cuts, which contributed to the very same debt and spending that you seem to hate so much. So how can you possibly say that Trump got a whole bunch of shit done? Like what
he got rid of a lot of.
What did he get done?
We got rid of regulations.
Wow.
Okay.
Trump was
1.5 trillion added to the debt. 1.5 trillion from the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. 8 trillion added in the last 4 years under the Trump administration. Where were you complaining the last couple of years when they added $8 trillion?
It's like almost
to our
double,
debt?
right? Holy fuck!
I've got videos. I've got videos on YouTube from 2016, 2017.
Okay, so we're gonna have Lecture Fan, we're gonna have Cam, then Hake, because I've heard all of them want to talk here. So I want to make sure they all get time to talk. And Teachum hasn't talked in a while. Did you want to talk at some point? Okay, so Lecture Fan.
No, okay, so just so you guys know, I have been criticizing the spending and the deficits this entire time. So you guys keep saying, nobody criticized it during Trump. Yeah, lots of people did. And we've got videos to prove it from 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. And the reason that Trump didn't have more legislative accomplishments is because Democrats controlled Congress and the House the second 2 years, and then Paul Ryan was the Speaker of the House, and they did get the tax cuts, which is major accomplishments. And then, you know, Trump actually, with what he could do with the executive power, he did way more in terms of foreign policy and cutting regulations and things like that than Biden has.
What do you define success? What do you define as success for the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act? They're supposed to have like 6% GDP the next 2 years. It's still at 2%. What was the success?
Well, because did you realize that we had COVID and that impacted GDP? But
these are the 2 years before. I'm talking 2018, 2019. 2 years before the pandemic, buddy. Where is the success? Lecture.
Okay, the success is that people are paying less. 80% of Americans paid less in taxes, and if you actually look at the actual
doesn't matter. It's about GDP, brother. GDP, brother.
It does matter. What individuals are actually paying in taxes actually does matter. I know you don't care about people and how much they have to pay in taxes, but it does matter. And 80% of Americans having more money in their pockets actually does matter. Maybe Democrats could actually do a little bit better in elections if they actually cared about people's pocketbook issues. And so that was a huge accomplishment. There's more federal tax revenues after the tax cuts than there were before, and studies have shown that if you actually look at tax revenues as a percentage of GDP, they've been very steady over time. What's not been steady over time is federal spending. All of our deficits and debt is due to out-of-control spending on welfare programs and entitlement programs, and that's a fact, and you guys want to keep pushing down this insane route. Good luck in 2022, boys.
What's the difference between giving people money back in terms of tax cuts versus giving people money back in terms of entitlements? Why are one of these so important to you and the other isn't?
There's a massive difference. Number one, when people work and earn their own money, that's their own money. Having to pay it to the government to then run it through administrative costs and then unequally and unfairly dole it out to special interest groups, that's not cool.
Okay, so I obviously have no authority here, but can we like talk about Biden, because like
I want to
this
push
whole
on the
Trump thing is like exhausting. We've heard all the arguments, we've gone over it time and time again.
It always turns into that. You're right.
I think it came from this general area down here, and it's really just a derail, and it gets everybody riled up, and then it turns into a Trump conversation.
Cam, you are next
amen,
on the
brother.
list, so
Amen. Democrats have nothing, so they just want to trash Trump.
Okay. So,
TDS.
Cam,
I want to. I don't know. I want to hear what other people.
Can people not hear me? Is my mic not working?
No, I'm sorry. That was my fault.
Okay. Thank you. So Cam, you're next.
Counter the counter.
Back to Biden if you want.
Okay, sure. So, I guess I like listening to what people have to say and responding to it. I guess more. So, how about can we talk about like Afghanistan or something, or like his handling of the pandemic?
Let's do it.
Anybody? I don't care.
Whatever you want to talk about, Cam. I'm happy to chat with you, buddy.
Afghanistan, we're finally out. Amen, brothers. Who's happy? We finally did it. Like 20 years later.
So what, you guys
First
think
Veterans Day and not in an active war in 20 years. Thank you, Biden.
You think the handling of that situation was good? You think
I think he did. I mean,
it was terrible.
I think that I think that sometimes we look at things like a movie where we want there to be like some ideal solution where there's absolutely no downsides. I don't think there was ever no downsides to that. I guess just for like, let me just rattle off like for 10 seconds. There's so many stupid talking words come out. So for all of the people that are like, oh, well, we should have slowly drawn down troops or whatever, that wasn't an option because it's obviously undermining the presence of the ANI there. It's obviously making it look like we have a vote of no confidence in the country. We can't slowly start visaing and taking every single important asset out of the country. That's a stupid suggestion. It undermines everything we've done there. We can't do that. Number one. Number two, the idea that we left military equipment there for the Taliban to take over when we left, that's also not true. We sabotaged a lot of that equipment on the way out, and we weren't just going to leave and pull out every single piece of military equipment that we had there also because, again, it undermines the ANI, and as soon as we leave and then the Taliban rolls through in 3 days, everybody's gonna be looking at the U.S. like, oh my God, why'd you take away military equipment? That was so horrible. You destroyed their ability to fight back, right? Yeah, 3, were there some Americans left behind? Sure, there were. I think I want to say now the number is less than 100. Obviously, there are going to be people scattered throughout, people that can't get out. There's never going to be like a perfect 100%, like we're out, there's no blood on our hands, everything is fine. But in terms of respecting the agreement that we already had in place from the Doha talks, I think, that we already had in place with the Taliban to be out of the country by a certain point in time, to make sure that no more American lives were lost in terms of aggression by the Taliban themselves, which even the Taliban understood, and to make sure that we weren't stuck in a protracted conflict that lasted another 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years because we don't have the perfect opportunity to withdraw. I think it's not only cool that we actually got out, but it's cool that Biden was willing to take the small PR hit to finally remove us from that conflict, knowing that there was going to be a little bit of smudge on his face while he left. Okay, go.
Way too much.
handled it better. Okay, give me a second. Okay, Hake was the next one to speak, so I want to give it over to him.
Trump would have handled the Afghanistan withdrawal better. I think we all know this. Republicans have not liked this spending stuff. Even since George W. Bush, they didn't even like the Republican voters I'm talking about, like the Tea Party. Obama was spending like crazy, which gave birth to the Tea Party, but they were not fans of Republicans spending like
I thought
crazy.
we were talking about Biden here.
I know, but I'm leading up. You criticized Republicans as though they only get mad when Democrats are spending and not when Republicans are spending. Trump had to spend more in response to Obama drawing down the military. He decimated the military, so he had to build up the military. So we cut him some slack on the spending. But Biden is not spending on good stuff. He spent like 130 billion or something to supposedly open up the schools. And a lot of that is being spent on the critical race theory nonsense. So it's corrupt.
All right, so let's talk about the Doha agreement.
Then after
So-
Cam, I almost called him J Trump. J Jump. No, T Jump. After him, T Jump.
So Destiny said that we had to respect the Doha agreement, which sure, I agree, we did have to respect the Doha agreement. But there's two parts to that story, right? It wasn't just us that had to respect it. It was also the Taliban for that plan to be followed through, right? If we're talking about the same Doha agreement between the U.S. government
Yeah, what was
and
the Taliban's part of that?
Yeah, what was their end of the deal there, Cam? Do you remember?
Yeah, I do actually. Here, I can pull up the whole agreement. But
Well, no, there was a huge important part of that deal. There was a massive
I mean,
component.
ask me a question. Can I answer?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so first, let me see. Part one was what? So there'd be part four. I remember that one off the top of my head was obviously the intra-Afghan negotiations, which I think also took place in Doha. There would be the Taliban also. Part one was that they couldn't, and I'm just listing them as I remember. The Taliban couldn't use Afghan soil to host
any foreign
enemies of the U.S.
Yes.
Like Al Qaeda,
Yep.
ISIS, ISIS-K. There was I forget what the two in the middle.
That was
were.
the big one. That was the huge one.
What was the one in the middle? What was the number
The
two?
one that you mentioned about them not using Afghanistan soil to host groups that are hostile to the United States. That was the big one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Remember what the punishment was if they didn't go through with this stuff? Do you remember that?
What was it? What was
it
the
was
punishment?
nothing. It was jack squat. That's what it was.
Right. But the entire
Great deal.
The entire agreement, the entire drawdown of forces was contingent on the Taliban holding up to this deal. Literally,
and they didn't.
Fucking trap card.
Exactly.
And there was no
didn't.
punitive measures, and we counted on a 300,000 strong.
Wait, listen. Under the Trump administration, largely, and I'm sorry, I'm calling back the Trump administration, but I mean, I could
Damn.
graphs. Obviously, we're not going to be able to see them. I could send them in chat, I guess. The violence on all sides was extremely low, right? Because one of the de facto parts of this agreement was that all violence on all sides would drop by 80%, right? This was vocalized
Who do
by
you
the
think
Taliban
committed the
and
violence
vocalized by
against
the
our
US.
soldiers at the airport?
Yes.
Who do you think committed the violence against our soldiers? You think it was the
Obviously.
Taliban?
No, I don't
It was
think that
ISIS.
it was.
It wasn't Taliban.
You're straw manning me just like you did with
So
everybody
what
else. when
violence
brought
are you
Trump.
talking about? What violence happened when Biden took over?
Well, for one, the Taliban started attacking towns and gaining massive ground, obviously breaking the agreement. When I say violence on all sides, I'm talking about Taliban violence against coalition forces, Taliban violence against the Afghan security force, Afghan violence against the Taliban, violence, military violence of any kind. It was very, very, very low until Biden took over, and the Taliban apparently got it in their head that they now had the green light to start taking as much land as they possibly could, and in a very short period of time they took 70% of the country. Biden pulled everybody out, didn't have any evacuation plan whatsoever. In Destiny, sure, we did sabotage a lot of the equipment, sure, but the Taliban undeniably did use our Humvees, our guns, and a bunch of other equipment, and our military drones to take territory. Like there's literally videos and pictures of them driving around in our Humvees and using the 50 cals on top to take villages and to take territory. It's undeniable. Sure, it's good that we sabotage some of it, but
Yeah, there wasn't a deal. My understanding is it wasn't a deal that the Taliban were going to split the country with the ANI and just leave, or that they were going to like leave everything up.
That was a hope. That was a hope,
Sure.
but it wasn't.
It might have been a hope,
particularly
but
in the
like
agreement.
so.
Yeah, no.
But
right, you're right,
what was
you're
the
right.
alternative then? Do we just stay forever? This is the problem that we get into.
No,
Trump
we
had
don't-
his, had it going out, and it would have gone smoother.
A good start would be an evacuation plan for, at the bare minimum, U.S. citizens in Afghanistan. As the Taliban are rapidly gaining ground, a good evacuation plan to get our people out before they just start slaughtering people, which they did, by the way, with our biometric databases. They went door to door testing people's irises to see if they were U.S. citizens or U.S. allies, and then literally hanging them or beheading them because we left our databases there. Or the devices.
Wait,
that
how
have
many
the databases
American citizens were slaughtered by the Taliban when we left?
I don't have an exact number. I mean, are you contesting that U.S. citizens were killed by the Taliban after we left?
I know that there were people that worked with the U.S. that were killed. I don't remember there being a wholesale slaughter of American citizens. I mean,
I didn't say a wholesale slaughter.
There was at least
recall us
two.
doing one.
There was at least two really good alternatives in Afghanistan. Other than the complete and utter disaster, one of the greatest American foreign policy disasters in a generation that was the Afghanistan pullout. But really, Afghanistan is just one of a whole other symptoms of the weak foreign policy. And Biden is so incredibly weak. His foreign policy is so horrible. You've got Russia on the move. You've got China on the move. Both Russia and China are our two main adversaries, both getting super aggressive with Ukraine and Taiwan. And it's
were any American citizens killed by the Taliban? Is this like from a house-to-house killing? I'm just curious. I haven't heard of this. Not to say that it's impossible. I just
troops there in a non-combat role, and you continue to provide air support, and you could have prevented this disaster where the Taliban are now taking over and killing women and raping kids and all this horrible stuff that you guys don't seem to care about.
you simply
second alternative was to actually when the Taliban broke the agreement and started doing all these horrible things, you then say, okay, we're not withdrawing. We're going to keep 2,000 troops here, and we're going to bomb you guys until you do it. And then they say, okay, fine, we won't do that. And if Trump had been there and Trump was strong, like he always had been on foreign policy, then the Taliban wouldn't have done that. We could have withdrawn, and the government wouldn't have fallen like that. The whole reason they were so surprised by the government falling is because it wouldn't have fallen if Trump was president, but with Biden president, it was because he's weak and he sucks, and Democrat foreign policy always sucks, and it makes the world more dangerous, and now Americans are in a more dangerous situation, and we're much more likely to get hit by a terrorist attack, and Russia and China are much more likely to get aggressive and invade their enemies, and this is all from Biden's weak foreign policy.
I would actually disagree with Lecture Fan. I would say instead of leaving 2,000 troops in Afghanistan to deal with the situation, I would say that we should have scaled up forces until we could devise an evacuation plan, which is actually what Biden had to do after, not until after he allowed the Taliban to completely overrun the country and doom a lot of the people that were there.
Okay, firstly, the
you
State
guys were
Department
against unnecessary wars.
Yeah, okay. There was no door-to-door slaughter of U.S. citizens. I'm trying to find this. I don't even think I need to look for this because if this would have happened, we would have been hearing it on the news non-fucking
They were
stop.
going door to door.
The news would never report that. The news would never report.
Bro, AP or Reuters they might have won door-to-door and they might have killed people that were working with the U.S.
Al Jazeera would have reported.
Yeah, Al Jazeera would have reported from any country.
They were
and
looking for anyone who was a U.S. citizen or an ally of the United States, and they were slaughtering people.
Okay, so this didn't happen. Number one. Number two, okay, any citizen that wanted out has had the opportunity to via the State Department. Okay, those arrangements
That is
have been
not
made.
true.
But that's
a
my
Biden talking point.
that is my understanding. The last I checked, I think there were like less than 100 American citizens that were still left in Afghanistan.
Destiny, there's literally civilian like ops groups going into Afghanistan still and rescuing people that didn't get out when they wanted to. This isn't something that's hosted by the federal government. These are civilians that are literally, most of them are former military, going into Afghanistan and rescuing people that didn't get out when they wanted to because they got stranded by the Biden administration.
Okay, I'll go look for those stories. It wouldn't surprise me if there were like a dozen, but like the State Department was issuing evac orders like months before the official evacuation started. Like this was something that the administration knew was going to do. This timeline had been set out by President Trump prior to this for leaving the country. And the idea that like we were gonna like increase troops there, the only reason why there was so little violence and up to us leaving that country is because the Taliban and us had an understanding that we were going to depart. right? We were going to leave. The idea that we should start drawing troops up there again instead of drawing them down, and the idea that the Taliban wouldn't have responded, like the Taliban gets a ton of support from Pakistan. They're going to have arms. They're not people fighting in caves. We're going to start losing soldiers again. You know what happens? It only takes 1 or 2 bad fucking attacks. Oh my God, 100 U.S. soldiers killed and blah, blah, blah. Bam, we've got 20,000 troops again in the Middle East, and we're right back at fucking ground zero once again in fucking Afghanistan for another 2 decades. Why did we do that? And then in terms of like, and I'm only saying this because either you or somebody else brought it up, that Trump could have done it better, or Trump would have done it better. Motherfucker, Trump left over 100,000 motherfucking Syrians on the Syrian-Turkish border to let our own fucking allies slaughter. The idea that Trump would have more responsibly moved us out of here, when Trump was a coward and he moved that Doha deadline to leaving that country until after he was out of office, and he did that very intentionally, just like he tried to do with some of his tax cuts, where he was going to cut the Social Security payroll taxes, and then he was going to reinstate them during the next administration, so that if he wasn't elected again, a Democrat would have to be the one to do it. This absolutely could have been done under Trump if he wanted to, but he didn't do it. He chose not to do it. He extended those deadlines into the next administration, and Biden still came through, and it was still a better situation than what we left the Kurdish people at between Turkey and Syria. So I don't understand this idea of how Trump could have done it better, or Biden did a horrible job, and there was no mass slaughter of U.S. citizens from door to door to door. We all would have been hearing about this on the news, or Al Jazeera, or Russia, or China would report it. Okay,
Russia
go.
Today, like, yeah.
It was on the news. Okay, anyway, I think you're misrepresenting my argument a little bit. I don't think you're doing it intentionally. First of all, I didn't say anything about Trump doing it better. I haven't said that. Now, when we talk about like scaling up forces, right? I'm not saying that we should scale up forces and leave them there. I'm saying that we should have scaled up forces and devised an evacuation plan. If you're criticizing the idea of scaling up forces,